And welcome back. The Democratic Alliance in Tshwane has laid criminal charges against EFF councillors. This follows an altercation between councillors during the August 31st council meeting. The DA say they are in possession of video evidence submitted to SAPS showing DA councillors being hit with projectiles thrown by the EFF councillors. To talk a little bit more about this, we are joined now by both the DA Tshwane Caucus spokesperson Kwena, Moloto, and Mr. Godwin Ratikwane, who is the EFF Caucus Chief Whip. A very good evening to you both. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right.
Thank you very much for having us, and good evening.
Good evening. Let me just start with you, Mr. Moloto. The DA, on the 25th of August, you submitted to the Speaker to hold a council online over concerns that your councillors would be unsafe. What led you to the conclusion?
So we, first of all, have seen on multiple occasions in the past violent altercations by the EFF in council meetings stretching back as far as March this year. However, inside this specific situation, there had been mention made on social media by members of the EFF of intention to do harm specifically to the executive mayor. We therefore wrote to the Speaker of Council to request that the council meeting on the 25th of August be held online because we were well aware of the fact that our safety could not be ensured by the Speaker of Council.
But I'm just saying, in terms of, I know you've said it, but did you have an expectation of violence? You have gone on and branded the EFF as a party that has violence at its core, and you saying they have no respect for democracy. So did you basically expect that your councillors would be attacked?
No, we were well aware of the fact, and it's, as I said, we didn't attend the council meeting on the 25th of August because we were aware of the threats. We decided, however, on the council meeting on Thursday this week, that it was important to give the executive mayor an opportunity to speak about how he's attempting to restore law and order in the city of Tshwane, as well as service delivery in the context of these violent strikes. The Speaker of Council also informed us that our safety would be ensured. However, laughably, the moment that violence broke out and the moment that EFF councillors stormed our executive mayor and began to violently assault members of the DA caucus, the Speaker went running away with his VIP protection. And the reality is that this is because this is a Speaker who's a puppet speaker elected by the ANC and the EFF, and this was all by design. The EFF intentionally ensured that the council meeting was disrupted. By the way, they were the ones that asked the executive mayor to give feedback to council and to residents about the state of the city, and then when he began to speak, immediately cut him off.
Mr. Ratikwane, what's your response to this? The DA says they received threats in the form of statements, and they were pretty certain that violence will be brought upon their members. They've described you as vulgar and barbaric in the manner in which you comported yourself during this meeting.
All right. No, thank you very much for the opportunity to clarify issues. Number one, EFF is a protest movement, and we are very clear and we are unapologetic about that. We do not believe as the EFF that protests must be confined to the streets and the townships where black people reside. Parliament, councils and legislature are the right platforms where protests must be heard. Now, we have a situation here in Tshwane whereby service delivery is not taking place. Workers have been dismissed. Well over 30 workers have been dismissed. We are stuck with a situation whereby breadwinners cannot provide for their families currently. We are stuck with the residents that are not receiving services that they are expected to pay for. we have a city that is on the verge of collapse. And as a result, the EFF, we cannot act like the situation is normal. Now, what happened is that the EFF, rightfully within the rules, took out the paper placards of some sort and then protested with the placards and just rose the placards and say, reinstate workers, pay the increases, and make sure that in the city there is service delivered. Now, when that process unfolded, what happened is that we've had a situation whereby Afrikaner men then went to go and form some form of a wall around the mayor, but there was no harm that was going to the mayor because we're just making the mayor aware of what is written on our placards as a form of a protest. Just like what happened in Parliament, we were faced with the same situation in the city of Tshwane, where we just raised a placard, which is just a paper. It is not a weapon of any sort. It cannot harm anybody. Then the
are you saying you
councillor,
dispute the claims which the DA says it submitted as evidentiary proof thereof, that you not only attacked their members, that you kicked, you even threw projectile at their council members?
We reject that kind of a claim, and we actually are the first people to open a case, because the councillor that was attacked first was the councillor of the EFF by the name of Odwa Nontunun. What happened is that there is a man who's fighting in cages, underground fights, that belong to the DA, that grabbed him and ensured that that man cannot even breathe. And then what happened was that there was intervention of other councillors, not only the EFF councillors, by the way. There were opposition and other multi-party councillors that were trying to stop the DA councillor from actually almost murdering Odwa Nontunun as a councillor. And then what then ensued there, because now you see, when you deal with videos, we always publish the version that actually favors us. But if you had to look at the video properly, all that kind of issue was people trying to rescue the man that was about to be murdered by a cage fighter, that is the DA councillor. So the issue there is that if we had just protested with placards in front of the mayor, there was no drama that was going to happen, because the mayor was going to read what the EFF is saying and then respond afterwards.
Okay.
Now, when you come to the issue, we asked for a debate on the issue of the service delivery and spent a full day on the previous week, on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. We then said, let us come and discuss this issue. During the ordinary council, the mayor wants to now hijack the ordinary council and deal with that issue without even us being given an opportunity to speak first as the people that are aggrieved, as the opposition,
Okay,
to raise
Mr.
our
Ratikwane,
issues so that when you respond, you can respond.
Please allow me to interrupt you, because I would like to give you both as much as possible equal time. I want to come back to you, Mr. Moloto. You are claiming that the EFF attacked your members. In fact, as we mentioned, you've branded the party as a group of people who naturally resort to violence. And as Mr. Ratikwane was also saying, just in terms of the proof that you've given, it's about changing the narrative. And I want to challenge you on this, because you had said that you have no confidence in the speaker, and simply because he has persistently denied your motions of no confidence. You've labelled him incompetent and lacking integrity. So was it on the basis of your belief that you would not be protected because you don't like the speaker and how he operates, that this whole thing descended into violence?
No, thank you very much. I'm glad that Godwin mentioned Parliament. It seems that the EFF is always at the center of violent protest, and yet to constantly seem to be the victims. It makes absolutely no sense. The reality is, if you look at any of the footage that's taken place over multiple council meetings, the violence constantly taking place on the DA side of the aisle. And it's because EFF members are crossing over and are instigating and agitating and eventually leading to assaults of DA councillors.
So what
and so I think it's
assurances of
laughable
safety?
that
What assurances of safety did you receive from the speaker, whom you say he was actually the first to bolt when the action went down, so to speak?
the speaker had contact with the executive mayor where he stated that councillors would be safe. And funnily enough, 5 minutes before DA councillors began being assaulted in the council meeting this week, the speaker was in the process of scolding DA councillors for not attending the special council meeting held on the 25th and essentially claimed, how dare we not believe that he can not ensure our safety. And look, I think that the reality, and we must speak honestly about this, is that we have no issue with peaceful protest, but this is violent protest, and we haven't just submitted videos. We've submitted medical reports in which physical harm has been done to DA councillors, and I guess Godwin would argue that bruises were caused by their placards as well. I think that it's absolutely preposterous for them to argue that in any way, shape or form this was a peaceful protest. Okay. And I think even worse of all, what the EFF...
Okay, finish off your sentence because I need to go to Mr. Ratikwane.
Yeah, they're trying to hold the city of Tshwane, the residents of the city of Tshwane, hostage, because what the EFF has essentially said is that they will refuse to allow any council events to take place until the 122 workers that have been dismissed are reinstated. And the reality is that is a labor issue. It's not a political issue. We know in Joburg, for example, that when the EFF and ANC took over, that they attempted to bring back employees that were linked to various corruption charges, but the city manager overturned that, because what the EFF needs to learn is that they're not above the law.
And your response to that, Mr. Ratikwane, particularly as the DA said it was against your motion to begin with, because it sees your call for the reinstatement of the 122 workers who were dismissed during the strike as actually an endorsement of violence.
Right. No, you must understand that firing workers is violence on those workers. Violence is actually what has led to the events that took place in Tshwane. So let me give an example quickly here. You can't have a situation whereby the mayor decides to enforce a situation where he basically withholds salaries of employees without getting the approval of bargaining council. You can't have a mayor that enforce an exemption that is still in the process but has already implemented it before the bargaining council can adjudicate on the matter. That on its own is violence. You are sitting with a situation whereby on daily basis our people are not receiving service delivery, but they are expected to pay for it. So the EFF is very clear that we're on the side of the workers and the residents of Tshwane, because both of them are victims of what is happening. And there's a bad management and mismanagement of the situation in Tshwane in terms of what's supposed to happen in terms of this strike. You are having a mayor that undermines the rights of collective bargaining. And you are also having a situation, because the EFF did open a case before the DA, by the way. There are also medical reports that shows that our councillors were assaulted. And on top of that, because the EFF are easily identified because of their regalia in different councils, that doesn't mean that they were the only party involved. He can tell you that not only the EFF was there, you've got Action SA members who were part of it, you've got AfriForum members who are part of the scuffle, you've got the ANC,
Mr. Ratikwane, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you because I'm going to ask for this. Purely 30 seconds. What do you foresee happening going forward? Can you work with the DA in any capacity? In 30 seconds, please.
We want our people to be reinstated. We want the residents of Tshwane to get the service delivery. We want the strike to end. And for the strike to end, the workers must be reinstated and they must be paid their increases. That's all we want. We want them to stop planning to have a DA, some sort of Action SA deputy mayor that is going to cost us 5 million.
Thank
But they're
you very
telling
much.
the workers that they don't have money.
Mr. Moloto, your 30 seconds, your response to that, the way forward, can you work with the EFF and stop counselling collapsing?
To summarize what Godwin said, he essentially said no. He won't work with us. The reality is, and it's as I said,
Well,
that
number one.
Labour dispute. There's no reason for any political party to get involved in this. It's not a decision that council can overturn. It's not even a decision that the executive mayor can overturn. That would be overreach. The reality is that we have to allow the legal processes to unfold. And until they do, we have to continue governing the city. We have to continue returning services to the residents of Tshwane and restore law and order to our city.
Thank you very much to you both. Much appreciated your time and your thoughts on this matter. That is the DA's Tshwane Caucus Speaker, Kwena Moloto. We also spoke to Godwin Ratikwane, who is the EFF Caucus Chief Whip.